Okay, so I'm a soft girl, which means we're going to get through this horrifying 80s zombie movie really quick. The story kicks off July 3rd where we meet Freddy, who just started his new job at a medical supply warehouse with his mentor Frank. Frank is showing him the ropes, how to package and ship cadavers, which are basically preserved bodies used for medical and educational purposes. So yeah, not exactly your typical summer job. Freddy finally gets to see a fresh dead body up close, and you could tell it gave him the chills. Meanwhile, across town, his friends and his girlfriend are just hanging out, trying to figure out what to do. His girl Tina mentions that she's waiting for Freddy to get off work, and since he's basically the life of the party, always knowing where to party and stuff, the whole group decides to go wait for him. Back at the warehouse, while going through some paperwork, Freddy asks Frank about the weirdest thing he's ever seen while on the job. Frank starts bringing up a classic zombie movie, Night of the Living Dead, but here's the twist. He says it was actually based on a true story. Apparently, there was this chemical spill that made dead bodies start moving around. The chemical was called 2,4,5-trioxin, and basically, when the director of Night of the Living Dead came out with the movie, the military basically threatened to sue him if he actually exposed what really happened to the bodies, and so they switched up a lot of stuff in the movie. And the only reason why he knows this is because the military tried to destroy the evidence, and there was a mix-up, and somehow the bodies ended up shipped straight to the medical supply warehouse. And of course, Freddy is super curious, so when Frank offers to show him the bodies, he is really excited to see them. It's definitely a sight to see. Freddy asks if one of those containers ever leaked, and to prove that they're totally military grade safe, Frank gives one of them a little tap. Instantly, this weird chemical mist sprays out everywhere, and one of the most iconic scores in horror history kicks in. Unbeknownst to the two who collapsed from the chemical leak, the dead body in the freezer has started to come back to life. Meanwhile, the military still hasn't given up the search for these missing bodies, even after all these years. There's this one cold, nonsense officer who's always on standby, just waiting for a lead. And well, today might finally be I think it's his lucky day. This might be the most random yet somehow perfectly 80s bunch I've ever seen. You got the preppy girl, the super goth death obsessed girl, the chill black guy, even a dude who literally goes by Suicide. While waiting for Freddy to get off work, the group spots an abandoned graveyard nearby, and no one can resist the idea of hanging out in a cemetery. Nothing says a good time like disturbing a bunch of people who are literally resting in peace. Back at the warehouse, Freddy and Frank finally comes to. They're coughing, feeling awful, and completely clueless about what just happened. The body that they were just watching is gone. Frank insists that it must have evaporated. Then they start hearing noises all around them. One of the noises coming from a dog, but not just any dog. This one has been cut in half and it's moving. And if that's not bad enough, the body from the freezer starts banging and screaming to be let out. Frank calls the boss Bert, alerting him of this problem. Now it's dark time and the friend group is just sitting around, and Trash, yes, she calls herself Trash, gets butt naked, and I'm saying everything is out, the titties, the coochie, everything is out, and she just starts dancing in his graveyard. Bert is upset, always cautioning them to never go near the tanks, but they all agree that the only way to stop the dead body is by crushing its brains, just like in the movie Night of the Living Dead. But that does nothing but make him scream even louder. Even cutting the zombie's head straight off does nothing. When that doesn't work, they start pitching ideas to get rid of the body. Luckily for them, Ernie, who is an embalmer, is still working, and so they decide to go to him. At first, Frank tries to hide exactly what he needs to be put in the crematorium, but Ernie isn't biting without an explanation to why he needs rabbit weasels burned, because he doesn't think it's humane and they could just put them out of its misery by shooting them. And so he folds, showing Ernie the real problem. Opening the bag, the zombie's chopped arm grabs onto Ernie's leg. They get it off of him and he agrees to burn them, with Ernie stating that Frank owes him a big favor. They are unaware that burning the body that was exposed to trioxin is now being spread outside. The smoke causes it to start raining, leaving the friend group drenched and panicking. The rain is so acidic, it causes their skin to burn, and since Suicide busted all of his windows out as a statement, they are left stuck since the car isn't starting. There is an obvious decline in health from both Frank and Freddy. Their skin isn't even a normal color anymore, and they decide to call an ambulance. Tina decides to go in a warehouse to look for Freddy, but instead she gets met with Tarman, who shouts out, "Brains!" In complete horror, she runs upstairs, falling through the broken one. She conceals herself in a locker, but this motherfucker is smart and figures out a way to crank it open. The rest of her group hears her scream, and Suicide gets surprised by Tarman, who eats his brains like ice cream. This causes the rest of them to run. The paramedics show up, and we witness them looking even worse than before. To put a look with the illness, they have no vitals, no heart rate, and their temperature is room temp. In other words, they aren't alive theoretically. The friends barricade Tarman, and then they run out towards the crematorium. Having to go through the graveyard, zombies start popping up out of the ground to this catchy ass 80s song. I'm not gonna lie, I've never seen a scene like this, like a very scary scene with this party song playing. The fact that this song made the scene even more scary to me is crazy. The group is split up and Trash is eaten by a group of zombies. The paramedics are at a loss because Freddy and Frank are technically dead but still conscious. The group consisting of Spider, Tina, and Scuzz make it to the crematorium, and they tell Ernie about the hundreds of zombies chasing after them. Casey and Chuck, they are split from the group and they make their way towards the warehouse again. When the two paramedic guys go to leave, they are ambushed by zombies and is eaten. Tina sees her boyfriend Freddy for the first time since this all started, and she goes to him even though he's damn near green now and starts kissing him. Ernie goes out to see that the paramedics are dead, and then he is chased by a zombie with no arms and legs. At this point, they are pretty much trapped, so they decide to barricade the doors. To my surprise, one of the zombies who can talk dispatches through the ambulance the request for more paramedics. Freddy and Frank's condition continues to spiral, and Bert informs the group about the chemical spill and how Frank and Freddy was exposed to it. Freddy is going through rigor mortis, not being able to move his muscles without extreme pain. More paramedics come immediately, being ambushed by zombies, and one of the barricades come loose, and so they hit the zombies trying to get it back together. Gus gets grabs, and one of the female zombies latches onto his head, taking a bite and killing him. They collect the zombie to question her. She speaks and says that they really don't care about people, they just want brains to relieve the pain of being dead. She can feel herself rotting on the inside, and brains make the pain go away. I can only imagine how it would feel to literally go through stages of death and actually feel it the whole entire time. I love this movie because it's a very creative spin to the zombie genre. Trash comes back as a zombie, my guess being that since she was exposed to the chemical that was leaked through the soil in the grave, she was able to come back while the others like Scuzz and Suicide doesn't. I don't think the zombies can spread the disease per se, like through bite. I think it's the chemical alone that could bring people back from the dead, from what I gather. Bert suggests that they lock Frank and Freddy in a different room in case they turn. Tina decides to stay in the room with Freddy even when they tell her they're going to lock her in as well. That's dedication even I want to have for my boyfriend if I was in this situation. Two cops show up to assess the situation, and they obviously fall victims to the zombies. Then one of the zombies requests for them to send more cops. Freddy is in pure agony from the pain of dying until he finally goes quiet, understanding what could help. Live brains! He tries to attack Tina, but the group comes in and saves her, and Ernie pours acid on his face. Frank sneaks out during this whole commotion. Spider and Bert plans to run outside past the zombies and get in one of the police cars. And then they're going to swing back and grab Tina and Ernie. They are able to get in the car, but the zombies overwhelm the car, forcing them to leave Tina and Ernie behind. They are chased by so many zombies that it causes the car to crash, but they reunite with Casey and Chuck. Freddy gets loose going crazy, and so Tina and Ernie go up to the cellar to barricade themselves up there. Frank, who managed to slip away, puts himself in a crematorium, not wanting to deal with the pain of being dead and wanting to keep the little humanity he had left. More and more police come, all being ambushed by zombies. There's a phone down the stairs where Tarman is, and so they let him out, and Bert takes his head off with a bat. He calls the police and reaches the captain and tells him about the zombies, but it's hopeless because the police, including the captain, gets overwhelmed by zombies. So then he calls the number located on the tank. The stoic military leader from before finally gets the call he's been waiting for. He gets the location and tells Frank that they've been waiting for this to happen and that they have a plan to deal with it. The plan is to drop a small nuclear bomb, killing everyone in proximity to the graveyard. The plan is considered a success, less than 4,000 dead, and not to worry about the fire because the rain will take it over. There has been complaints of the rain burning, but that should be fine. They are unaware that they did not contain anything but spread it. And that's the movie. If you like this little quick horror recap, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe for more. Thank you so much.